So the other day, a friend of mine, his name is Fritz, yes, I just doxed you, who's actually connected with the Myth Informed organization. You guys might be familiar with them because I've done live debates and live speaking events in association with them, posted a video on his personal Instagram where he showed his car being stolen. Now, I messaged Fritz, asked him what was going on, and it turns out this was a part of the issues that Hyundais and Kias are having, as they have a clear and obvious manufacturing glitch that makes it incredibly easy for them to be stolen. And unfortunately, this information has gotten out on TikTok, and thus this has produced an increased string of thefts. Also, unfortunately, Fritz, just like Myth Informed Milwaukee's name would indicate, happens to live in Milwaukee. And when I started looking into this, based on a tip that he sent over to me, the numbers of thefts that are going on in that city in particular are astounding. What we're going to talk about today should shock you, should horrify you, and of course, it is yet another result of soft on crime policies leading to insane levels of criminality out of the city of Milwaukee. But before we get into that, we have a sponsor today. It's National Gold Group, so let me toss it over to them, then we'll bring it back over here. We'll discuss all of this on the other side. You will be blown away. The 2023 crisis is upon us. The Wall Street Journal is warning that the banking failures you're seeing are going to have serious negative impacts on the average American. Morgan Stanley is warning of a possible crash in the real estate market, a la 2008, if not worse. At the same time, Wells Fargo believes that precious metals are in a super cycle and it's possible for gold to hit $3,000 an ounce. All this is happening while the Fed has less and less tools in order to deal with it. What are they going to do? Raise interest rates again? We're seeing how that's causing all kinds of problems in all different sectors. What you need to do right now is begin to hedge against potential disaster. If you go to National Gold Group or call them at 866-826-2603 and mention my channel, you'll be connected with their all-world American-based customer service, and they will go over your options and tell you about potential fee waivers with qualifying transfers into a precious metal IRA. It is beholden on you to protect your own future, so please call National Gold Group at 866-826-2603 and get started today. There is always a risk with any investment, nothing is guaranteed, and prior performance does not necessarily predict future outcome.
Teens in a stolen Kia strike again, this time violently. A witness started recording video on their cell phone as the car drove recklessly outside of Morris Middle School at 80th and Kenow around 9 this morning. You can see the white Kia slam into the back of a parked school bus. The bus rams into a Mercedes, then hits a Milwaukee Public Schools truck. Parents watched in horror.
When I saw them coming this way, I dialed 911 right away because it's reckless driving. They're hanging out of the windows.
So yes, let me make this clear. You did hear that correctly. The 15-year-old boy who was injured in this accident was in fact hanging outside of the window of the vehicle at the time they were speeding down near this middle school. And make no mistake about it, this is not atypical. In fact, the numbers of car thefts that are going on in Milwaukee are so astounding that I'm just going to have to tell them to you so you can understand how nuts this actually is. So in the year 2021, Milwaukee actually suffered, and this is mostly Kias and Hyundais, 10,000 car thefts, and most of these are attributed to what are affectionately, I guess, nicknamed the Kia Boys. Now, this was a feature of a documentary from a YouTube channel that was actually sent over to me. I'm going to be showing you some excerpts from that and from the local news that was covering that a little bit later on. But just to give you an idea of context in terms of the city of Milwaukee, that is one car theft for every 58 residents, and this was in a single year.
A 15-year-old boy was hanging out of the passenger window when the Kia hit the bus. We've blurred that graphic moment, but that boy now in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. An 11-year-old on the bus was also hurt and taken to the hospital.
It happened so fast. So quick.
Therese Nelson had just dropped off her 7th grader.
Getting out of my personal vehicle to check to see if everyone's okay. Lots of screams, children crying. It was scary.
The video also shows the driver of the Kia bolt from the scene before officers arrived.
So look, I understand that this lady is absolutely horrified. She was taking her 7th grader to school. She had to get out of her car in order to check if everybody was okay. We end up finding out that a 15-year-old boy is not, in fact, okay from this accident, one of the perpetrators, and there was an injury on the school bus. And I also appreciate her trying to clean up for local TV affiliate news station.
Stupidity. It's sad. but it's stupidity. They messed around and they found out.
The effed around and found out meme, but the thing is, that is just not the case. This is just not uncommon at all in the city of Milwaukee. Accidents are soaring, and kids riding on the outside of these stolen vehicles is incredibly commonplace. If you just do a quick search into YouTube and you type in Kia Boys Milwaukee, you'll find short after short, video after video of children doing this exact same thing, driving incredibly recklessly while you have people on the vehicle, ultimately until they get into a car accident. And there's a number of reasons why this is occurring. First and foremost, obviously, there is a manufacturer's defect in terms of Kias and Hyundais. However, and I should point this out because this should be incredibly obvious, although we're seeing lots of spikes in thefts of these vehicles in the United States of America, Kias and Hyundais are shipped all around the world, and we have no such reported increase in those thefts in other places. This is a uniquely American problem, and for whatever reason, in Milwaukee, they seem to be seriously impacted or impacted disproportionately compared to other cities in the United States of America. And the reason for that is because Milwaukee passed several soft-on-crime pieces of legislation that treat underage offenders like little babies because, according to the city of Milwaukee, there is no difference between somebody who is under the age of 18 by one day and a 2-year-old baby. You can't tell the difference. Let me put some side-by-side photos, and honestly, you guys out there are completely shocked and you don't know which one is which age if you're living in the city of Milwaukee and you're working as a legislator, because the laws that are on the books are incredibly soft on this. The sentence that you are likely to get for Grand Theft Auto in the city of Milwaukee as an underage offender is about 3 weeks, and this is what the car thieves told that documentary filmmaker when he came out to talk to them.
Have you thought about how you would spend that time?
Shit, you only gonna do like 3 weeks shit. It's a misdemeanor.
You only do 3 weeks for stealing a car?
Hell yeah, it's a misdemeanor shit.
So is there really no punishment for this?
Hell no. The high speed, that's when you get a felony.
Now again, I will link the Kia Boys documentary in full in the description. I'm only going to use little snippets because this guy actually went out and did the work, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It's over a year old, but the point being made right there is that none of these kids are concerned or even remotely worried about the consequences of being arrested on these charges of Grand Theft Auto. In fact, it's actually a bit jarring to the YouTuber who's talking to these car thieves who, according to themselves, have over 200 car thefts individually, so over 400 plus between them, probably more now since it's been over a year since this was filmed. And obviously there is no concern for consequences because both of these individuals reported that they had open cases, and it is not deterring them from stealing vehicles on a Tuesday afternoon in the middle of the school year. In fact, one of the craziest things about this documentary, and it's featured on the local news and in the documentary obviously because they just use footage from this video, is the fact that while they're recording, somebody insanely speeds down the street and almost crashes into a house, and then continuously circles in the vehicle, and at one point you actually see people laying on top of the car, hanging out of the car, all trying to have a good time. Obviously, these are people with reckless disregard for their own safety, so as you can imagine, they don't have any regard for the safety of other people, and they tell you that yourself. In fact, when asked if a car swung by and took him out during the course of the interview, what they would say, they actually would blame the person who got hit for not moving out of the way of the recklessly driving vehicle.
Honest question. So if that car would have gone out of control and swerved and hit me and I died, what do you think should happen to the driver?
Yeah, you should have got out the way.
If the car hit me, it would have been my fault.
Hell yeah, you should have ran.
This is a huge indicator of the mindset of these criminals. They laugh at the idea of law enforcement consequences because what you ultimately get in the city of Milwaukee, because again, they think if you're a day under the age of 18, you're essentially a baby, and thus you must be treated like you have the capacity to think like you're a baby, that there will be no consequences for their actions. They believe that if they hit and or kill somebody, then guess what? That's on the person for not getting out of the way fast enough. And that applies to this guy as a filmmaker, a mother in the stroller, or as we sadly saw in that story out of Chicago, the 2-year-old that was killed in the pickup truck that similar car thieves ended up crashing into at high speeds. The one that you guys actually went out of your way to contribute to their GoFundMe, which by the way, I am incredibly grateful for. The entire family was injured in that horrific accident, and as we expected, the offender offenders behind the wheel of that car were also under age 18, and Chicago, with similar kind of criminal justice reforms and bad prosecutors like the city of Milwaukee, doesn't understand how just because you're one day under the age of 18, that doesn't make you a baby incapable of understanding the consequences of your own actions. However, there's also another component that I really want to highlight from that documentary before I'm going to say just watch it in full. It is not that long. It's honestly like an extended YouTube video. It is a courtesy of me to call it an actual documentary, and that is the fact that they are aware of a pursuing policy that was instituted by the Milwaukee PD that ultimately makes this whole situation way more dangerous.
They can't chase, cause they can, but like after you doing so much dangerous shit, they gotta terminate it.
I just want to point out, if you heard what that young man said right there, you don't need to clean out your ears. You don't need to rewind the tape. You don't need to check if you're the one who's insane, because I assure you, it is actually the city of Milwaukee that has lost its ever-loving mind. That kid just said that it's actually policy of the Milwaukee police, in order to prevent dangerous accidents from occurring, to terminate police pursuits if it looks like the driver is driving too recklessly and thus is likely to injure another person. So essentially, what these car thieves are actually incentivized to do is drive even more recklessly, so that way they can get the police pursuit terminated, and that way they're more likely to get away. So a policy specifically allegedly designed in order to make the everyday average citizens oh so much safer, turns out that it does the exact opposite and actually incentivizes horrible driving, hanging out of the side of the vehicle, and all manner of chaos to run amok on the streets of the city of Milwaukee.
One person got hurt, another person got hurt on the bus, and his friends ditched him. Stupidity in my book.
And this parent outraged because she's seen it before.
Scary. Very scary. That's why I wait. Because this isn't the first time I've seen reckless driving in this area during school hours.
Not the first time, and she fears it won't be the last time.
Yeah, I guarantee you it will not be the last time if you have this set of incentives out there, and the Kia boys are getting legendary status across the city of Milwaukee. 10,000 cars, 200 plus car thefts under each individual person's belt. How about you prosecute Grand Theft Auto like, it's Grand Theft Auto?
Hillary police are looking for others who are in the Kia. Meanwhile, officials at Milwaukee Public Schools say they've been trying to enhance safety.
I mean, think about how absurd this is. Grand larceny gets its name from stealing over $1,000. $1,000 is considered a grand. That's supposed to be an automatic felony. Yet Grand Theft Auto, stealing somebody's vehicle, which is often worth way more than $1,000, not to mention the fact that people are reliant on it in order to get to work, in order to get to school, in order to get to all manner of appointments. Misdemeanor, 3-week sentence, if that. You get to go to juvie, get a slap on the wrist, and then you're sent right back out on the street to commit hundreds upon hundreds more of these robberies, hundreds upon hundreds of more of these potential accidents, and maybe even kill or injure hundreds upon hundreds of more people. And, in the YouTube video that I referenced earlier, they actually talk to people who were impacted like this, who had their friend's car stolen or had their car stolen. So don't think that it's just property, it's just a victimless crime, because people lose their jobs over this. They don't get to make it to work. They end up with all kinds of problems. And if you think insurance just covers everything and makes it all the more better and all of that, that's just not the case. This woman got her car stolen. They absolutely wrecked it. And she's driving a much more inferior vehicle because this is what she could afford after the payout of her insurance.
10 years?
A good 10, 20 years, because that's hard-earned cars. Look at what I'm driving because of the Kia boys.
A Kia boy stole your car?
Yes. Can't take the kids to school, can't make appointments, gotta call it.
These kids are seriously damaging the lives of everyone in their community, and they're doing it for fun. They're enjoying it. I got news for you. They're not stealing these vehicles to do anything but drive them around like maniacs, crash them, and then move on to the next one. So if you think maybe somewhere in the line of things that these kids are doing, they're actually just trying to get bread to feed their family, you're wrong. They're not going to eat the upholstery of the car. They might eat pavement the next time they get into an accident, but I guarantee you they're not eating the engineering of these Kias and Hyundais. Now, I often talk about on this channel how poverty is not the actual cause of crime. These people aren't stealing cars for joyrides and crashing them around because they're just so broken they have nothing to do. but crime in fact drives poverty? What do you think happens to a city like Milwaukee whose residents are experiencing a car theft in a single year for 1 out of every 58 residents? What do you think happens when accidents that damage other vehicles occur ever more frequently because you have all of these, and make no mistake about it, over 50% of those arrested for these thefts are under the age of 15, underage, unlicensed drivers on the road smacking into everything. Insurance premiums go through the roof. If I was insuring a city or cars in a city that had 10,000 car thefts in a single year, I would definitely be raising premiums on absolutely everybody. So even the people who don't have their lives directly ruined, who aren't directly driven further into poverty by having their car stolen, having to pay for the damage to their car or pay to replace their car when they weren't expecting it, are suffering due to the fact that their insurance premiums are going through the roof. Once again, you're making it more difficult for the very people that these soft on crime policies were meant to help. Remember, we're trying not to criminalize poverty, but apparently charging extra premiums to the broke in these areas, totally fine. Because honestly, how could we possibly, by dint of a law, deem that a 16-year-old or somebody 1 day shy of 18 somehow, possibly, maybe, somehow knew what they were doing? And how could we tell the difference between that person and a baby that was just born yesterday? Honestly, it is so confusing. How can we possibly prosecute these kids? I don't think we can make that judgment, so let's just keep continuing to give them slaps on the wrist. Let's continue to see kids get injured in these accidents. Let's just see what happens in terms of people's insurance premiums, and maybe at some point all of the Kias that have this manufacturing defect will be completely obliterated, and then we'll reach the communist utopia. Then Milwaukee will just be on the road to economic recovery, because all these car thieves are definitely going to stop doing what they're doing as soon as they run out of every Kia and every Hyundai in the city limits. Then it's going to be fine. Then you're just going to solve all the problems, and then those kids, they're going to go to school, they're going to become scholars, they're going to go to Harvard and Yale, and they're going to come back and rebuild the community. Because you know what? We didn't do the school to prison pipeline. We didn't send these kids on a path where they will just never get out of jail. We decided to protect their natural rights to steal cars, drive them around like maniacs, hit pedestrians with no regard. In fact, they think that it's the pedestrians' fault if they get hit by their reckless driving. And you know, it's whatever. This is no big deal. No big deal. Fritz, my buddy over there, got your car stolen. It is no big deal according to your own representatives. Let the children steal the cars, you bigot. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social media. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness that is going on in the city of Milwaukee. Till next time.